I don't need it.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, well,
I was so happy.
You were just doing too
I
good
was,
at it.
yeah, I was just,
So I won't presume to explain the drill to you. I know you know it well.
I do know it pretty well.
Please have a seat and make yourself comfortable. I think you pretty much know everybody on the commission.
Hi,
How are
Mr.
you?
Ghazi. Nice
Good
to see you again.
Uh-huh.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Hi.
How are you?
good afternoon, come on.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you. Okay.
Please make yourself comfortable, and we are going to start you off as we have with everyone. We'll just have you share with us why you'd like to be a circuit judge.
Okay, thank you, and thank you. I've had a good lunch. I don't know if it's a good time to have it after lunch or not, but I know that you need the lunch break.
We'll start getting sleepy.
I thought about this question. In the press release, you indicate that you're going to ask, why do you want to be a circuit court judge? And for me, this is an extension of my public service. I've been a public servant for over 20 years, but it's more than that. It's for me about being a part of this community, the community in this circuit, the community of Volusia County, which in the last 5 years I've been an assistant county attorney. And during that time, I've really had a lot more exposure and contact with the citizens of the county, even the circuit, through staff, through members of the public, and watching our county council do their action. Today and every other Thursday of the year, Volusia County Council is in session, and they address issues, agenda items from 15 to 40 agenda items every other week, and their decisions affect the citizens of this county and affect our community. While my role as an assistant county attorney, and there's 12 of us, along with the county attorney, is objectively neutral, we're legal. We don't make policy. We don't engage in politics. We advise legally. Still, those decisions and the advice we give to staff as they're generating an agenda item, or the advice we say to staff and say, no, you can't do this, again, affects the community, positive way or negatively. Business, fire services, sheriff services, all of the things that we, the county council, decides has given me a pretty good source of strength for our community and my attachment to that. So that's really what's driven my decision to apply, is how much I value being a citizen of Volusia County and how much I value practicing in this circuit. As you know, the application demonstrates, my experience is varied, and that's the second reason why I feel I'm ready now. I was an appellate attorney for almost 15 years, primarily doing criminal appellate. During that time, I had the luxury of being able to research and write and produce a strong written work product. But the biggest part, and what I took away from my years with the Attorney General's office, was my ability to be an oral advocate. An oral advocate on behalf of the state, dozens of times in the 5th DCA, 10 times in the Florida Supreme Court, and 3 times before the United States Court of Appeal for the 11th Circuit. Being able to really start as a young lawyer and have to stand up in front of Judge Dowks, if any of you remember, and take that. Early on in your career, you really either have to love it or you move on, and I loved it. And I feel that the writing and research skills I developed there, coupled with my oral advocacy, helped me make the transition 5 years ago and start over again as a civil litigator. I did civil litigation for 3 years in the county attorney's office, had to jump in with both feet and go to mediations right away and read compulsory medical examinations right away, things I had never been exposed to before. And I enjoyed it. I was pushed, I was challenged, I met new lawyers, had to earn my way, and I loved it. And then 2 years ago, the county attorney knocked on my door and said, Mary Jolley, you are a movable piece, which I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. And he said, I have a need down in land use, and I feel that you can meet that need. So about a little over 2 years ago, I moved to land use, where I had to sit in front of the Code Enforcement Board, the Contractors Construction and Licensing Appeal Board, on the ECHO Board. I do animal control hearings. I do all of these things that I never thought I would do 5 years ago or even 3 years ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed the challenge. He relies on me to do all 3 aspects of the division of the office: land use, litigation, and the third is administrative and contracts. I even do, I'm doing extensive administrative litigation as well. So I feel like now that I've had these 5 years of civil with the broad range of issues that go on in the county attorney's office, coupled with that experience, plus really this strong sense of community that I have, that we raised our family here in Volusia County, that all of those things have put me in this chair here this afternoon.
Mary, give us your thoughts, if you would, how you would plan, or what approach you would use to handling a very busy and crowded docket and moving that forward. And when you're answering, balance that against the needs of the private attorneys and private parties who have lives and conflicting schedules.
Sure. I've been at docket calls where it's been full, and we sit and sit. As a judge, you've got to be, obviously you have to be mindful of everybody's time, but the private lawyers are obviously they don't get paid if they're here, they've got to go somewhere else. So you need to be mindful of that. I think being professional and efficient are the two things that any judge needs to do in any situation, but in managing a docket. And managing your time and being able to get to the issues quickly, particularly a docket sounding, not the time to hear motions or anything like that. And I've seen lots of lawyers try and get an extension or something during docket, and staying on task and being mindful of everybody's time, particularly the attorneys, is really just a general way to handle it, and how I would handle any hearing time or docket time. Stay efficient, be prepared, and handle the issue that is before you, and really try to move things along. Even if we have to follow it up, if it's a hearing and we've got 15 minutes and we've covered it, but I would feel that the lawyers needed additional time to try and efficiently reset it so that everyone that's waiting in the hall can get their time. That's really what I've experienced, and it's, for the most part, it seems to work.
You've been obviously in the community for quite a while and had a chance to be practicing law in this community for a while. Which circuit judge would you point to say this is somebody that you look up to, and why do you look up to that person?
For me, it's Judge Rouse. His retirement last year was just really tough on that civil docket. Judge Rouse puts you through your paces when you go before him hearing, and asks questions that are pointed. He was always prepared. He was smart, but he could think on his feet. And for me, hands down, being able to practice in front of him right away as a new civil lawyer was a challenge. I prepared for my hearings for Judge Rouse like I would prepare for OA for the Fifth. I had my folders, my cases, because I knew that he would always ask questions and be prepared, but ask a question even that I might not anticipate. So watching him think on his feet to make me think on my feet, really, he was just really, what a wonderful judge, and how lucky I was to practice in front of him.
Correct your pleadings?
I think I left a junior off once because he's Robert K. Rouse Jr. But always nice about it. And the other thing I learned from Judge Rouse, sometimes he would have those open hearing times where you would sign up, and I watched him handle self-represented litigants and pro se litigants, and I learned a lot from him on how he talked to them and treated them. And that's something I certainly have in my toolbox in case I would be fortunate to have that be in his position at some point. Watching him interact and talk to pro se litigants was really helpful to me, even as a lawyer, with a lawyer on the other side.
As I look at your application, many areas of strength. Jury trials, however, might not be one of them. I see two on there. How would you get ready to manage a civil docket if you were assigned to civil, with a very active, 2 weeks of trial a month, or a criminal docket down the road with 2 weeks of trial a month?
While I only have 2 civil trials, as a civil lawyer, we got to the brink lots of times. So I've prepared for trial many times in the last 5 years, and so I'm mindful of that. I think what's important for any judge that's handling a trial docket is to be able to be efficient and rule quickly. Let's not forget that when I was with the Attorney General's office, I read thousands of trial transcripts. I read where you should have objected. I could anticipate where parties should have objected, and I've had to assess reversible error. As an advocate, say, no, that wasn't reversible error or harmless error sometimes. So I do have that exposure, and I have to tell you, in the trial work that I did, and some of the non-trial bench trials and administrative trials, all of those, that experience of reading trials, I didn't realize how much it would help me until I was actually in a courtroom, in a hearing, or in a trial. Because anticipating objections and ruling on, and now as a judge, being able to rule on objections and do jury instructions, all of those things I was exposed to during my criminal appellate practice. And it really dovetailed well when I actually had to be in hearings and trials.
I think I took your seat on the JNC. You sat over here
I
once,
did.
I believe. And can you talk to us a little bit about that experience, what you learned, mistakes you made, the areas you grew in, things you find important in being a judge?
When I started on the JNC, I met new lawyers. That was really one thing. Like, I never would have met Tance Roberts if I hadn't sat on the JNC. I never would have missed Mr. Green. Mr. Stanton's not here. That's what I really took away from it. Meeting my fellow commissioners, but also being exposed to lawyers that did all different things. Really a positive. Some of the scrutiny, the decisions that you make, I always felt very confident in the choices that we made. I think the judges that I was a part of selecting have, for the most part, been very successful. But you do hear a few of those comments after the list comes out, and just kind of roll with it. But really a pleasure to serve. It was a lot of work, so I appreciate your time, and thank you for that. But really just the opportunity to meet new lawyers and hear what they do was really, I enjoyed that very much.
I used to prosecute with now Judge Foxman, with Matt Foxman at the homicide unit a long time ago. I remember the Barber trial. I didn't try that case with him. I think Chris Branch tried that case with him.
Correct.
When I was on the phone with him the other night, he had mentioned that I think you may have handled the appeal.
I did.
And he also mentioned that Barber may be the new standard in murder cases during the JOA argument. A lot of lawyers will refer to Barber. Explain to me why.
Well, that was a circumstantial evidence case.
Very good.
For those of you that are, it was one of my significant cases. And it was an old case that no one really wanted to bring to trial. And it was entirely circumstantial. We had, and they used a lot of evidence from his computer, his insurance policies, the fact that he had an affair, all as a way to show his intent that he committed the murder of his wife. His defense was that a robber had come and accosted them on the beach, and that this person had shot him in the face. But the interesting thing, and I was thinking about this case, obviously when I was doing this application, is they made a really unique judgment of acquittal argument in that case. During the penalty phase, they argued that the state hadn't proved one of the aggravators. And then I thought Mr. Kent did a nice job on appeal, saying, okay, if you didn't prove the aggravator for the death penalty, you didn't prove rebut the hypothesis of innocence on the JOA. So that, I think, is the unique part of it that that was raised on appeal that I had to deal with at the 5th, with some questions from Judge Jolley on that. I remember it very well. But really, it's a strong case for standard of circumstantial evidence in the JOA, and I think it stands for that. And using these kind of unique pieces of evidence to prove intent. It's a great case to work on. It's real nice when you have prosecutors like that just did a bang-up job, although it made my job a lot easier. But it was still challenging and stays with me. April Barber was young and pretty, and this was her husband, and he shot her in the face. And meeting her family through OA, and having that experience of there with me in the courtroom, they flew down from, I think, Arkansas to watch the OA, meant a lot to me, and that case will always be with me the rest of my career. I'm very proud of it.
What else? Mary, thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you. Really a pleasure, and I do appreciate the work that you guys do.
Mary, we will be interviewing you Monday, but
Correct.
just after that, we'll be in a position to let everyone know our decision. So one of us will be reaching out to call you and let you know.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. It's really nice to
Nice to
see
see
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Take care.